There's some very weird noise going on outside. I hope I look okay in this huge t-shirt that I got from Gap. Okay, so what we're gonna learn today is how to set up frequency separation so you can retouch your photos like a professional. I love frequency separation. I learned it years ago by watching Jessica Kobesi's videos on frequency separation, and now I'm going to show you guys kind of what I learned way back then and how I've made it my own. I'm also going to show you how to set up an action so that you don't have to do this step-by-step process every single time. You can go ahead and just click on the action and everything will be set up for you to use frequency separation. Okay. So let's get started. This is a beautiful portrait of Sierra, who is a model in New York City. And let's increase the brightness on my laptop so I can see what frequency separation is. It's a way to separate the texture layer from the color layer. So this way you can edit the texture of your model's skin and also the color, like the colors, blend the colors together. I love using frequency separation. It's, very time consuming, but it's so worth it. And I hope you all are able to really grasp frequency separation after this video. And of course, if you have questions, comment below and I'll answer them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create 2 copies of the background layer. What is happening? My computer just froze, okay. While my computer's doing its thing, I guess we could hum. So the first thing you want to do with frequency separation is make 2 copies of the background layer. And the first copy is going to be the color layer and the second copy is going to be the texture layer. You're going to make the texture layer not visible. Then you're going to go up to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to make this photo blurry. Rule of thumb, you don't want it to be too blurry like this, obviously, but you want it to be blurry enough to where the colors are blending and there's really no texture, because remember, we have a separate texture layer. So I'm going to go with 4.8. 4.8 looks good. Okay. So now we're going to do the texture layer. And with the texture layer, we're going to go to image, apply image. We're going to make sure the source is the image 414. Then we're going to go to layer, and you always want to apply the image to the color layer. Then we're going to go to blending, and we're going to go to subtract. Then we're going to click preserve transparency. We want to make sure the opacity is at 100%, the scale is at 2, and the offset's at 128. We're going to click OK. And we have this gray image, kind of looks like a stone, kind of can see the features, kind of not really. Then we're going to go over here to our layers and we're going to click on linear light. And voila. Now the image looks exactly the way it looked out of camera. Now if we look closely, we have the color layer, and the color layer just shows us the color of the images. When I retouch, I personally like to forget the fact that I'm retouching a person and look at the image as just an assortment of colors and textures that I want to manipulate to kind of make look the way I want it to look. I feel like it's like drawing, That's why, like, when, at least in my experience, when I would take art classes, we would draw things upside down, because when you have like a conceptual view of what something should look like, it kind of ruins the way that you create it. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's the color layer. And now we'll look at the texture layer. And as you can see, this really amplifies the texture of the skin. It really amplifies the ridges and the grooves and all of that. The eyelashes, the eyebrows, everything, to really bring out the texture and to make sure that we get skin that looks smooth and even. Now that we have the color layer and the texture layer, we're going to create a group called frequency, all right, separation. Is that how we spell frequency separation? Yeah, cool. And then we're going to make a copy of the color layer. That way, when we edit on the color layer, we're not editing the only layer we have, and if we make a mistake, we can easily delete it and start over. So that's how you set up frequency separation. Now let's get into how to create an action so that you don't have to do this manual work again. All right, so let's delete this, and we're gonna come up here to the play button. Yes, the play button, and we're gonna click it, and we see all these default actions. Now we're going to add a new one. So now Photoshop is recording everything that we're doing in order to set up these retouching layers. So record, and now we're going to go over the process again. So make 2 copies of the background layer, label one color, label the other one texture, hide the texture layer, click on the color layer, go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur. It's already at 4.8, so we're good there. Click OK. Then make the texture layer visible. Go over to image, apply image. It's already set up for us. Layer is on the color layer, channel RGB, blending is subtract, opacity 100. We're preserving the transparency. The scale is 2 and the offset is 128. We're gonna click OK. Then we're gonna go to the layer and change it to linear light. Then we're going to make a folder out of the texture and color layer and label it, what is happening? Frequency separation. Then we're gonna make a copy of the color layer, and that's it. Now to stop the action, you wanna click on the play button again. You wanna click stop and look for this action. As you can see, there we have our frequency separation action. If we want to test it out, delete that frequency separation retouching folder, and we're going to click play on this frequency separation, and there it shows up automatically. Yay! And this will help you save time, it'll help you save money, it'll help you save years off of your life. Seriously. One tidbit about this frequency separation layer. So remember how when we were adding the blur to the color layer, we needed to have a specific number, we needed to have a specific blur amount for the photo. Now that's going to differ for every single photo that you have. So a different portrait or a different photo may need, a different amount of blur. So we're going to open up the frequency separation action we just created. We're going to scroll to where we can find the Gaussian blur action. You see where it says radius 4.8. Sometimes it might be 3.5, sometimes it might be 10, you never know. So we're going to click this box, and that way, whenever we click this frequency separation action, it's going to then stop us at the Gaussian blur step, so then we can adjust the blur amount. So I'll show you right now. So let's open this up and let's click play. And there it pops up the Gaussian blur option, and now we can change it however we want. All right. And then it just finishes the action for you. Easy. All right, so now let's get into how to actually use frequency separation layering in order to get smooth skin. So the first thing we're going to do is hide the texture layer, and we'll have the color copy that will be, and now we're going to be retouching on the color copy. So we're going to use the healing brush tool, and I like to use the healing brush tool with no hardness and a lot of spacing. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to scroll. So what I like to do to first start with retouching is start on the body first and then move on to the face. So with the body, I typically like to just do very basic skin retouching from far away. So the way the healing brush tool works is it samples a part of the layer. So the way the healing brush tool works is it samples a part of the layer and then it duplicates it. So it duplicates it and kind of like heals what's going on around there. So if there's any fragmentation, what's going on, the healing brush tool will then re-fragment. I like to make the brush pretty big, and then I just like to stamp on what I see that needs to be blended together. And you can be as detailed or as, not detailed as you want. For demonstration purposes, I'm not going to go really in depth like I normally would. Otherwise, we'd be sitting here for, like an hour. All right, so that's pretty good. What I like to do also is track my progress. So I like to do a little before and after to kind of see, the before it's not as blended, the after it's blended, so we're on the right track. Okay, now I'll do this spot. Okay. So what I'm doing to sample the skin is I'm pressing Option. If you're on a PC, I really don't know. I don't know anything about PCs anymore. I'm so sorry. But if you retouch skin and you're on a PC, please let me know how you sample on a layer. I would love to know, just in case Apple goes away. All right, so that's pretty much what I'm gonna do to the body for demonstration purposes. Now let's zoom into the face. I typically like to start along the cheekbone right here, just to kind of get my feet wet and blend these colors together, and to get these colors together. So truthfully, what really helps me with retouching is understanding makeup and watching a ton of beauty tutorials when beauty influencers ruled the world. Understanding where light should be hitting the face, understanding, how to apply makeup in specific areas. And also vice versa, retouching has definitely helped me understand where to put certain makeup, what colors to put, all that stuff. So, also, what I'm using is purely my MacBook, but I recommend, just so you're not clicking away, I recommend getting a tablet. That would be great, which reminds me to put that on my shopping list. And if you use a tablet, let me know which one you use and if you love it. I really haven't committed to using a tablet yet. I'm kind of attached to using my laptop. It's very grassroots. I will say that. Okay, is this even doing anything? No, barely. We're barely doing anything. Okay. No worries. Great. Also with frequency separation, or with really anything in Photoshop, if you find yourself messing up or making a mistake, wait, was I editing on the color layer the whole time? Or on the non-copy? If you make a mistake in Photoshop, what you can do is hit Control Z, which is for a PC, or Command Z on a Mac, and Photoshop will be like, yeah, we never did this, as you can see right there. When I retouch brown skin, I retouch with color correction in mind. So with frequency separation and brown skin, I'm not too picky with blending all of the colors and making sure like the darks are out, the lights are out. When it comes to brown skin and retouching, it's a lot different. And so there needs to be an extra step taken for color correction. And so the gray that you're seeing in the image, I'm intentionally leaving it there. I'm not blending that. And I do have a video on color correction if you're interested in seeing how that works. Especially if you're interested, or if you even care, to learn how to retouch brown skin and take that extra step, which you should care. Okay, so now I'm just kind of randomly doing spots that I see. Again, this is very tedious and could go on for literal, like, Sierra has very good skin, so this is a very easy retouching job, but it would still take me about an hour or two to retouch the skin. Let's just see the progress so far. So if we zoom in and we look at the before, where the colors are not as blended together and they're a little bit fragmented, you know, just natural looking skin. And then when we add the frequency separation layer, you can see it's a lot smoother, things are a little bit blended, a little bit more seamless. The last thing I'm going to show you with the frequency separation is how to use the texture layer. And this is something I kind of had to experiment with myself. So if you have your own way of doing this, or if you find a new way to do this, then I'd love to know. Okay, so first I'll hide the color layers, and then I'll click on the clone stamp tool to heal, or to go on the texture layer. So as you can see, there's a lot of texture. You sample the smooth texture and you go over the rough texture. I'll show again, you go over the smooth, you sample the smooth, and you go over the rough texture. You know, and you can do this as detailed or as, you know, not detailed as you want. That's how you retouch on the texture layer. And altogether you can see that there is smoother skin, the skin is more blended, and you're really able to see the beautiful portrait that is going to be created with this frequency separation retouching technique. So we've made it to the end of the video. Let me know if you found this to be helpful. I'd love to know if you use frequency separation, or if you plan to start using frequency separation. If you'd like to see this image finished and retouched, go ahead and check out my color correction video. It's something I do specifically for brown skin. So if that's something that you're looking to learn, go ahead and check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video on frequency separation. We were able to get through it. You learned how to create an action, you learned how to set up frequency separation, and you learned how to use the healing brush tool, the clone stamp tool, how to edit the texture of the skin, how to blend the colors. If you'd like to see this image completely finished, color corrected, color graded, all of that stuff, I have all of those videos on my channel. If you'd like to specifically learn how to color grade brown skin, I have a video on that. Go check that out. Very important that we all know how to color grade brown skin. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, and comment below with any questions you have, and I'll see you next time.